Deep within the tangled woods of Cornwall, Connecticut, lies a place whispered about in uneasy tones, Dudleytown. Once a thriving settlement, now nothing more than crumbling stone foundations swallowed by forest. But the ruins tell stories that refuse to fade. Stories soaked in mystery, tragedy, and something far darker. For over a century, Dudleytown has been abandoned, left to the slow decay of time. Yet explorers who dare step inside the remains of its old cellar holes and stone foundations find strange, impossible things. Modern items appear in places untouched for decades. Fresh flowers wilted on cold stone, coins minted long after the town was deserted, children's toys styled from the 1950s but eerily new. Those who enter the forest near Dudleytown often speak of lost time. Walk in on a bright afternoon, and suddenly it's dusk when you emerge. Minutes stretch into hours without explanation. The air thickens, shadows lengthen, and reality seems to bend. The night of Halloween 1999 shattered the fragile peace. 11 teenagers got lost trying to find the town's ruins. Rescue teams spent hours combing the forest, spending thousands of dollars to bring them out safely. After that, the Dark Entry Forest Association tightened control, got trail cameras installed, security hired, trespassers prosecuted harshly, warnings posted. But the lure only grew stronger. The internet pulses with stories of Dudleytown, each more terrifying than the last. Some claim the land is cursed, built over a sacred Native American burial ground violated by settlers. Others whisper the town exists simultaneously in multiple dimensions, where the veil between worlds is thin and horrors leak through. Yet, Reverend Gary P. Dudley, a descendant of the original settlers, uncovered no ties to the supposed cursed Dudley bloodline. His family tree led nowhere near the infamous English nobles said to be executed for treason. If a curse ever existed, it shouldn't have followed them here. But the question remained, why did this small settlement see so much suffering? Records reveal a staggering rate of mental illness, suicide, and unexplained deaths. People vanished without a trace. Documented facts, not folklore. Dr. John F. Like, former president of the Dark Entry Forest Association and lifelong resident nearby, insists there's no paranormal force at work. Harsh living conditions, isolation, malnutrition, and lack of medical care explain the tragedies. Yet even he admits he never visited the forest at night. It wasn't fear of ghosts, he says, but something else. An unnatural darkness so thick it swallowed flashlight beams and distorted vision. A darkness that felt alive. Modern researchers with permission report strange phenomena. Random electromagnetic spikes, sudden temperature drops of 20 degrees in spots just feet wide, recordings capturing voices in unrecognizable languages. Patterns emerge in the noises, suggesting an intelligence not human. Animals behave oddly. Birds avoid certain trees. Deer paths curve around invisible boundaries. Predators and prey freeze together, staring at nothing. Hunting dogs whimper and refuse to enter parts of the forest, pulling back desperately on their leashes. In 2011, 8 filmmakers arrested for trespassing, trying to document Dudleytown, were found with footage they claimed never shot. Angles with no cameras, translucent figures in colonial attire standing among them. They swore the images weren't visible on set, only appearing during playback. The Cornwall Historical Society dismisses the legends, attributing deaths to disease and accident. Yet even they can't explain why the native Lepi people avoided this valley, why colonial maps marked it with warnings, or why every attempt to resettle ended in swift departure without explanation. Before abandonment, settlers reported mysterious stone arrangements, circles and cannons unlike any Native American or European designs. The stones remained icy cold in summer sun and returned to their original positions if moved. Eventually, no one tried to disturb them. In the 1960s, a Yale geologist found unusual rare earth minerals beneath the area, elements known to cause hallucinations, paranoia, and mental deterioration in high concentrations. Perhaps the curse is geological, slowly poisoning those who lived here. But the same geologist discovered something else. Beneath the minerals lay a massive, geometric hollow space, with straight walls and corridors extending far beyond the town's boundaries. When he sought to investigate further, federal agents warned him to stop, labeling it a national security threat without explanation. His notes hint at a terrifying conclusion. Whatever lies beneath, it predates humans and remains active. Something ancient, unfathomable, and watching. The Dark Entry Forest Association maintains the land as a nature preserve, prosecuting trespassers but offering no explanations. Locals whisper of strange sounds, moving lights, and people changed forever after visiting Dudleytown, some unwilling to speak, others haunted by nightmares of that place. On Halloween night, 1999, one teenager captured photographs of shadowy colonial figures watching from the trees. Images later confirmed authentic by forensic analysis. The photos terrified the girl so much she burned them, haunted by the feeling of unseen eyes watching her years later. Whether a curse, a geological hazard, or something beyond human understanding, one truth remains: something is wrong here. Something watches, waits, and lingers in the darkness, and it is patient. The abandoned ruins of Dudleytown lie quietly under the thick canopy of Dark Entry Forest, but beneath that silence, a strange unrest pulses. The stones, the forest, even the very air seems to carry memories, memories that refuse to fade. Over the decades, many have tried to unravel the enigma. Treasure hunters, ghost hunters, historians, thrill seekers, all drawn by whispers, rumors, the allure of the unknown. Yet the forest does not give up its secrets easily. Instead, it traps those who wander too far, confusing their senses and twisting reality. The stories told by those who have dared to enter the forest after dark are chilling. People report sudden chills, even in summer, as if invisible eyes pierce their skin. Some speak of a heavy silence, broken only by the sound of footsteps that never match their own. Others recall the trees shifting, not physically, but as if the forest itself rearranged its paths to trap them deeper inside. In one account, a man named Harold entered the forest with his dog at dusk. Hours later, he emerged alone, disoriented and unable to find his dog. When rescuers searched, the dog was nowhere to be found. Harold insisted he was inside for only minutes, but the sun had long since set. His eyes held a haunted look, and he refused to speak about what he'd seen. This phenomenon of lost time is a recurring theme among those who ventured near Dudleytown. Clocks stop, compasses spin wildly, and familiar trails twist into unrecognizable labyrinths. It's as if the forest folds in on itself, trapping victims in a loop where time and space lose meaning. local legends offer explanations. Curses born from betrayal, restless spirits seeking vengeance, ancient rituals disturbed. Some say Dudleytown sits atop a supernatural fault line, a place where the fabric of reality thins and tears. But what if the truth is far stranger? In the 1800s, residents reported strange phenomena beyond simple superstition. Stones arranged overnight into precise patterns, circles, lines, and shapes that defied explanation. Cannons fashioned in unfamiliar styles appeared, cold to the touch even under blazing sun, and stubbornly returned to their original places if moved. Attempts to investigate these formations often ended in frustration or fear, and eventually the settlers abandoned the efforts. When the town was deserted, the forest reclaimed the land, growing denser and darker with each passing year. The canopy thickened until almost no sunlight touched the forest floor. The darkness deepened in ways natural science struggles to explain. Visitors describe an oppressive atmosphere, a weight in the air, a palpable tension that makes breathing feel heavy. This darkness is not simply absence of light. It's as if the shadows themselves have substance, swallowing sound and light alike. Scientists and investigators granted access to the forest report, anomalous electromagnetic readings, sharp spikes with no source, temperature drops that defy natural explanation, and audio recordings capturing voices speaking in tongues unknown to linguists. One researcher, after analyzing hours of these recordings, found repeated patterns suggesting an intelligence that is alien, not just non-human. Animal behavior supports the unnatural presence. Birds avoid certain trees entirely, their songs replaced by eerie silence. Deer veer off known paths, skirting around invisible boundaries. Predators and prey have been spotted standing motionless together, fixated on empty space, as if witnessing something no human can see. Even dogs, known for their acute senses, refuse to enter some parts of the forest, pulling away with whimpers and signs of terror. In 2011, a group of filmmakers tried to capture the curse on film. After being arrested for trespassing, their footage contained ghostly images. Translucent figures clad in colonial-era garb, standing silently among them. The crew swore the figures weren't visible during filming. They only appeared during later review. Skeptics called it trickery. But the police forensic lab confirmed the footage was genuine and unaltered. Official bodies like the Cornwall Historical Society dismiss such accounts as fanciful or fabricated. They explain deaths by tuberculosis, accidents and mental illness unrelated to curses or hauntings. Yet they cannot deny the historical mystery. Why did the native Lape tribe avoid this valley? Why do old maps warn travelers in multiple languages? Why do all resettlement attempts end abruptly with unexplained departures? Researchers have uncovered disturbing geological clues. The bedrock beneath Dudleytown holds unusually high concentrations of rare earth minerals, known to affect human brain chemistry and cause hallucinations, paranoia, and psychological deterioration in extreme cases. Perhaps this toxic soil slowly unravels the minds of those who live upon it. But there's more lurking beneath the surface. In the 1960s, Yale geologist Dr. Robert Steinberg discovered a vast hollow beneath the town, an underground complex of perfect geometric shapes, straight walls and corridors stretching beyond the settlement's borders. This was no natural cave. The scale and precision suggested construction, something ancient, alien, or both. When Dr. Steinberg sought permission to excavate, The Dark Entry Forest Association refused. Soon after, 2 men claiming to be federal agents warned him to abandon the investigation, citing national security. No reasons were given. His final notes hint at a horrifying truth. Whatever lies beneath Dudleytown predates humanity. It might be alive, aware, and waiting. The underground space beneath Dudleytown remains one of the greatest unknowns in the forest's long history. Dr. Steinberg's discovery hints at something unnatural and ancient, something far beyond the scope of colonial settlement or Native American presence. Yet the layers of secrecy surrounding it only deepen the enigma. Locals speak of the place with hushed voices. Few dare approach its borders, especially after dark. The stories of those who've crossed the threshold and returned, changed, broken, or silent, are passed down like warnings. Some say the very earth beneath the town is alive, breathing with a slow, ominous pulse. There are tales of shadows moving independently of their owners, shapes glimpsed just beyond vision, and whispers caught in the wind, words that chill the blood but make no sense. The ancient stone circles remain untouched, as if the forest itself protects them from discovery. Researchers who managed limited legal access to the area report strange phenomena. Electronics malfunctioning without cause, compasses spinning wildly, and sudden drops in temperature, sometimes by as much as 20 degrees. In isolated spots, no larger than a few feet, it's as if pockets of cold darkness and energy flicker across the land. One investigator, who asked to remain anonymous, described an experience deep within the ruins. Alone, during daylight, he felt a weight pressing down on his mind, an oppressive force that blurred his thoughts and slowed his perception. His instruments registered electromagnetic spikes far beyond normal readings. Despite the sunlight filtering through the canopy, he felt as if a shadow loomed, larger than any tree or cloud. Wildlife reacts oddly too. Birds avoid specific groves, as if sensing danger. Deer trails curve to avoid certain clearings, and predators and prey have been seen frozen together in silence, staring at the same invisible point. Dogs refuse to enter some parts of the forest, pulling back with whimpers and fear. Despite all this, curiosity draws people back. Urban explorers, thrill seekers, paranormal investigators, many drawn by stories posted online. Ignore warnings and trespass at their own peril. Those who venture into the forest after dark often don't return, or come back with tales so strange that few believe them. On Halloween 1999, the incident that sparked widespread concern unfolded. 11 teenagers went missing after entering the Dark Entry Forest. Emergency crews searched through the night, spending thousands of dollars on rescue efforts. All 11 were found, disoriented, shaken, unable to explain how hours had passed without them realizing it. They spoke of the forest changing around them, paths that vanished, and an overwhelming sense of being watched by something not quite human. None dared approach the ruins themselves, but all remembered the carving on a tree that none of them had made, a symbol that seemed to pulse with a faint glow. This event pushed the Dark Entry Forest Association to take a hard stance. They began aggressively prosecuting trespassers, installing trail cameras, and hiring security to patrol the grounds. The message was clear: stay away. But even with warnings, the lure of Dudleytown hasn't faded. Some stories claim the land is cursed, others that it's a gateway to other dimensions. Theories of Native American burial grounds disturbed by settlers circulate alongside tales of interdimensional rifts and ancient entities sleeping beneath the earth. Reverend Gary P. Dudley, a descendant of one of the town's founding families, spent years researching his lineage. His work debunked the popular curse narrative. The Connecticut Dudleys were not linked to the notorious English family rumored to be cursed centuries before. If there was a curse, it wasn't hereditary. But Reverend Dudley's findings raised darker questions. Historical records show a disturbingly high number of suicides, disappearances, and unexplained deaths in Dudleytown, far beyond what could be explained by hard-living conditions alone. Census data and newspaper archives corroborate the alarming statistics. These are facts, not folklore. Dr. John F. Like, former president of the Dark Entry Forest Association, lived nearby for over 50 years. He insisted there was no supernatural cause. The tragedies, he argued, could be explained by isolation, poor healthcare, and economic hardship. Yet, he admitted something else. He never entered the forest at night, not out of fear of ghosts or demons, but because the darkness there was unnatural. It wasn't just the trees or the mountains blocking the moonlight. The darkness seemed to consume light itself, dimming flashlights and playing tricks on the eyes. He described it as unsettling, a sensation he could never put into words. The modern investigations into Dudleytown have revealed phenomena that challenge simple explanations. Devices record electromagnetic spikes with no clear source. Temperature fluctuations drop sharply in spots barely a few feet wide. Audio equipment picks up sounds resembling conversations, but in languages that experts cannot identify. One linguist described the patterns as intelligent, but distinctly non-human. Animals behave unusually as well. Birds avoid certain trees, almost as if they sense something unseen. Deer trails bend around specific areas with no apparent reason, while predators and prey have been spotted standing together, frozen in place, staring at an empty spot in the forest. Hunters report their dogs refusing to follow scents into parts of the forest near Dudleytown. The dogs whimper and pull, back on their leashes as though afraid to cross some invisible barrier. In 2011, 8 filmmakers were arrested for trespassing while trying to document the curse. Their footage, examined by police, contained disturbing anomalies, shots of their group from angles with no cameras, and faint translucent figures resembling colonial-era people standing silently among them. The filmmakers insisted the images weren't visible during filming, only appearing when they reviewed the footage later. The Cornwall Historical Society insists Dudleytown is nothing more than an abandoned settlement with exaggerated legends. They have published pamphlets debunking major claims. Jerson Hollister's death was accidental. Mary Cheney's suicide was actually tuberculosis-related, and Harriet Clark's mental illness preceded her time in the area. Still, even the Historical Society admits some things defy explanation. The Lape people, known for using every part of their land, notably avoided this valley. Colonial-era maps mark the area with warnings in multiple languages. Attempts to resettle the land after the 1900s failed repeatedly, with newcomers leaving abruptly and refusing to explain why. One rarely mentioned detail appears across historical documents: strange stone arrangements found in the late 1800s, circles of rocks appearing overnight, cannons built in mysterious styles, unlike anything from Native American or European traditions. The stones were always icy cold, even in the summer sun, and when moved, They returned to their original positions as if repositioning themselves. Eventually, residents stopped trying to move them. Those stones are believed to remain in the forest, hidden among the trees, waiting. A geologist who studied the area in the 1960s discovered unusual mineral deposits in the bedrock. Rare earth elements were concentrated far above normal levels, minerals known to affect human brain chemistry, potentially causing hallucinations, paranoia, and psychological damage. Could Dudleytown's curse be geological rather than supernatural? A slow poisoning of the mind and body by the land itself. Yet the geologist, Dr. Robert Steinberg, made another discovery he never publicly revealed. Beneath the mineral-rich bedrock, some 200 feet down, ground-penetrating radar revealed a massive hollow chamber, not a natural cave, but a complex structure with straight edges, right angles, and long corridors. The chamber extended far beyond Dudleytown's limits. Steinberg sought permission to excavate in 1967, but was denied by the Dark Entry Forest Association. When he persisted, suggesting the site had major archaeological importance, he was visited by two men claiming to be federal agents. They warned him that further investigation would be considered a national security threat. No explanations were offered. The warnings stopped his research, but his private notes hint at something far older and darker beneath the town. Something predating humans, possibly still active. His final words were chilling. "God help me, I think it's still awake." Despite the Dark Entry Forest Association's firm stance on keeping Dudleytown off limits, curiosity remains impossible to quash. Locals, especially the older generation, speak quietly about the place. They mention strange noises drifting on the wind, whispers, footsteps, voices carried from the direction of the forest that nobody else seems to hear. They recall sightings of lights moving between the trees, lights that vanish when approached. Friends and family members who ventured near Dudleytown have come back altered, changed in ways no one can fully explain. Some refuse to talk about what they experienced. Others struggle to describe it without trembling. The consensus among those who know the stories is simple. Something is watching from the shadows of Dark Entry Forest. It's an ancient presence older than the Dudley settlers, older than the Lape people who once named the land of the Dragon. It exists still, lurking in the ruins of Dudleytown, beneath the crumbled stone foundations and the patterns in the rocks. No one knows what it wants or why it waits. The trees planted long ago by Dr. Clark and the association have grown dense and tall, creating a canopy so thick that almost no sunlight reaches the forest floor. The darkness there is unnatural, thicker and deeper than any other forest in the region. Driving through Cornwall at night, you might see signs warning of Dark Entry Forest and the no trespassing notices. The threats of arrest and prosecution are serious. The land is private, protected for the safety of visitors and the preservation of nature, but the truth behind that safety is far more complicated. Some secrets are better left undisturbed. The Dark Entry Forest Association remains tight-lipped about what they know. They allow only a select few researchers access under strict conditions. They refuse to speak with journalists, offering only the standard line. It's a nature preserve with a troubled history, nothing more. The last known legal visitor for research was a historian who spent hours during daylight photographing cellar holes and measuring stones. She reported nothing unusual, but later abandoned her project entirely. She sold her home and moved across the country, refusing to discuss her reasons. The teenagers rescued on Halloween 1999, now adults, rarely speak about that night. Those who do insist they never made it inside Dudleytown itself. Instead, they got hopelessly lost in the forest. Yet all remember a strange carving on a tree, one none of them had made. They all recall the sense of being watched by something beyond humans. They remember the forest shifting, rearranging itself, making escape impossible. One of those teens, now living in Boston, still dreams of that night. In his nightmares, he finally reaches Dudleytown. He sees the cellar holes, the stone foundations, and the cryptic patterns in the rocks. But he also sees other things. Things that should not exist. Terrifying visions that wake him screaming, though he can never remember exactly what they were. Only the crushing terror and the overwhelming feeling that some truths should remain buried. There's one detail about that Halloween night in 1999 that never made it into any official reports. Something that chills even the most skeptical. Investigators Rebecca Thorne, one of the teenagers lost in the forest, took photographs during their ordeal. When the film was developed, most images showed nothing but darkness and blurry trees. But 3 photographs stood out. In each, faint but unmistakable figures appeared between the trees, dressed in colonial-era clothing. Forensic experts at the Connecticut State Police Lab thoroughly analyzed the photos. They confirmed these weren't double exposures, shadows, or tricks of the camera. The figures were genuinely there when the pictures were taken. The first 2 photos showed distant, still shapes that seemed almost statuesque. But the 3rd photograph was the most disturbing. One figure stood closer, staring directly at the camera. Its face looked human, but wrong, like a distorted memory of a person, with proportions slightly off. An uncanny valley of flesh and bone. The images unnerved Rebecca deeply. She later burned the photographs in 2001, claiming that merely looking at them gave her a feeling of being watched, a sensation that lingered for years after that night. Whether or not you believe in curses or supernatural forces, Dudleytown's mysteries are undeniable. The place has an atmosphere that twists reality, something that no one can fully explain. The Dark Entry Forest Association's insistence on secrecy only adds to the eerie aura surrounding Dudleytown. Land is a place where time seems to warp, where natural laws bend, and where something ancient waits in silence. Every attempt to understand the truth runs into walls. Walls of fear, denial, and warnings from those who guard the forest zealously. Those who dare venture inside, whether legally or not, return changed, or they don't return at all. Dudleytown remains a dark secret carved into the hills of Cornwall, a place where history and horror intertwine, where the past refuses to stay buried. Dudleytown's ruins endure. The stone foundations crumble, cellar holes slowly fill with leaves and earth, and the towering trees that Dr. Clark planted long ago now form a dense canopy, blotting out sunlight and swallowing the forest floor in shadows. It's darker now than ever before, darker than any natural explanation can account for. The darkness itself seems alive, thick and heavy, almost palpable. If you ever find yourself driving through Cornwall, Connecticut, you might see signs marking the entrance to Dark Entry Forest. You'll see the no trespassing signs, the warnings and the threats of prosecution. You might feel a curious pull to explore, to uncover the truth behind the stories. But don't. The stories, the legends, The documented tragedies, they all point to one truth. Dudleytown is not just an abandoned settlement. There is something deeply wrong here, something ancient, patient and watchful. Locals speak in hushed tones about strange sounds drifting on the wind, unexplained lights moving through the trees, and people who go in and never come out, or come back different, unable to speak of what they experienced. Those who've spent time there all say the same thing. There's a presence, not seen but felt, something waiting in the darkness, watching from the shadows. The ruins and the stones arranged in cryptic patterns are more than relics. They are warnings, guardians of a secret too dangerous for curiosity. The Dark Entry Forest Association guards this secret fiercely. They don't give tours, they don't allow journalists or most researchers, and they prosecute trespassers without mercy. They claim it's for safety, but the truth feels far more sinister. Some doors, once opened, cannot be closed. Some mysteries are better left alone. If you ever hear the name Dudleytown, or find yourself near Dark Entry Forest after dark, remember, some places aren't just haunted by the past, they are haunted by something still awake. If you choose to listen, if you dare to believe, you might hear it. The silence in the trees, the watching eyes in the dark, the waiting beneath the stones, and you'll understand why no one stays.